Film is something that seems to have been taken for granted in the 21st century. However, just like all advances in culture which have come before it and came afterwards, it is something which had to be invented. No one person can really claim to be the one who discovered cinema, but there are a few who could be considered in the running for such an honour. Today, we'll be looking at some of the pioneers of our medium and how they influenced it is that we consume our favourite blockbusters at our local multiplex. Film is the illusion of movement by the recorded and subsequent rapid projection of many still photographic pictures onto the screen. It is a product of 19th century scientific endeavour which has, over the past century, become an industry which employs thousands of people and is a medium of mass entertainment and communication. It could be argued that one of the first films ever made was Workers Leaving the Factory, which was shot outside a French workplace at the end of the day in 1895. Although by modern standards, a rather dull few minutes, where a steady stream of workers pour out of their place of employment at the end of their shift, the reel gives us a fascinating glimpse into Europe of the 19th century. As the employees filter out into their homes, they completely ignore the camera in front of them, unaware of the monumental part they are about to play in history. The pair sat behind the camera were Auguste and Louis Lumière, who acutely understood the significance of such an event, and would go on to become the pioneers of the cinematic arts. The first time that the Lumière brothers projected a moving picture to a paying audience, which could be argued as the definition of what cinema is, was in December 1895 in Paris. As Louis stated, "On December 28, 1895 was really born the expression, 'I have been to a movie.'" It wasn't until the 20th of February 1896 at what is now the Regent Street Cinema, no more than 10 minutes away from where I am sitting, which became the first site in the UK where the Lumière brothers' cinematograph machine was demonstrated to the press, and these earliest of moving images were given their first presentation to a paying audience the following day. It was rumoured that during the first projection of Arrival of a Train at the Station, there were some who fled the theatre in fright, terrified that the train which was rushing towards them on the screen would burst through and run them over. How much of this was the hyperbole of a tabloid headline encouraged by the maverick inventors with a Fairground Barker sensibility remains unknown. But with hysteria surrounding the development of any new media, which remains even today, it isn't hard to believe that there could have been those who may have actually done it. However, it befell to others to take this amazing invention and refine it further into something which is considered closer to the cinema that we would recognise today. One of these was the renowned stage magician and showman Georges Méliès, who created A Trip to the Moon, in which a lone charismatic figure, played by the filmmaker himself, travels with a small group of astronauts to the moon. It includes one of the most distinctive frames in film history, with the intrepid adventurer's rocket hitting our world's satellite straight in the eye. Méliès painstakingly hand-painted the background of each set to create the fantastical impression of what our group of characters find when they land on the moon. Perhaps the greatest tribute that can be paid to Méliès by his peers is the fact that rather than being inspired to attempt to duplicate the marvels contained within the trip to the moon, they simply stole it and released it under their own names. By 1914, several national film industries were establishing themselves. Hollywood was yet to control the global market of film production and distribution. Films became longer, and more narrative content was produced at the expense of shorter skits or information films which had previously been associated with the medium. As more and more people paid to see the movies, the industry which grew around them was prepared to invest more money in their production, distribution, and exhibition. So large studios were established, and specialist cinemas built explicitly for the projection of films. However, the First World War greatly limited the film industry in Europe, and the American industry grew in relative size and importance, as they were undisturbed by the conflict which raged across the continent. It could be argued that the global conflict, alongside the favourable conditions of the Californian sun, was one of the greatest reasons for North America's current domination of the global film market. The first 30 years of cinema were characterised by the growth and consolidation of an industrial base, the establishment of the narrative form, and the refinement of the technology. Film would go on to grow into the mass-market populist medium that it is today, but without two brothers recording workers leaving a factory and a train pulling into a station, we wouldn't be able to say that we went to the movies at all.